A car's lights on, then off. A figure in the dark, while investigators were treating Brianna Maitland's disappearance as a runaway case. The real story was already festering in the shadows of Montgomery, Vermont. The clues weren't in the car. They were in the whispers of a town held hostage by fear. A town with a dark secret it was not ready to give up. This is the story of what the police missed, and what the locals were too afraid to say. In the aftermath of a tragedy, there are two stories that unfold. There is the official story, the one told in police reports, press conferences, and neatly filed documents. It is a story of procedures, timelines, and facts. And then there is the other story. The one whispered in late-night diners, in hushed phone calls, and in the dark corners of a small town where everyone knows each other's secrets. It is a story of fear, of rumors, of names that are never spoken in the light of day. For Brianna Maitland, the official story was one of confusion, a potential runaway, a possible accident, a case with no clear answers. But the other story, the one whispered in the town of Montgomery, Vermont, was far darker. It was a story of drugs, of violence, and of a secret that some were willing to kill to protect. Days turned into weeks, and the initial police investigation began to show cracks. Brianna's car, the single most important piece of physical evidence, was treated with a puzzling lack of urgency. It was towed from the scene and processed, but key potential DNA evidence was not collected in the way modern forensics would demand. Her father, Bruce Maitland, a man with a quiet demeanor but a fierce love for his daughter, grew increasingly frustrated. He was a farmer, a man who understood the land, and he knew that the Vermont wilderness did not give up its secrets easily. He pleaded with investigators to treat the case not as a runaway, but as a potential abduction. The police assured him they were doing everything they could. They interviewed Brianna's friends, her co-workers, and her family. They searched the area around the old Dutchburn house, their dogs sniffing through the melting snow, finding nothing. But in a small town like Montgomery, the official investigation is only half the story. The other half was spreading like wildfire, fueled by whispers and fear. The whispers centered around a darker side of the town, a side that tourists never saw. A world of backroad drug deals, of desperate people, and of violence that often went unreported. Brianna, in her quest for independence, had recently brushed up against this world. Friends would later admit that she had been spending time with a rougher crowd, individuals known to be involved in the local drug scene. One name, in particular, kept coming up. A local drug dealer, a man known for his volatile temper and his connections to organized crime. Rumors circulated that Brianna had either borrowed money from him or had witnessed something she shouldn't have. Police interviewed this man. He had an alibi, but it was shaky. He denied knowing Brianna well, but others said they had seen them together just days before she vanished. His story was full of inconsistencies, but without concrete evidence, he remained just a name in a file. Another person of interest emerged, a young woman also involved in the drug scene, who was known to be deeply jealous of Brianna. She had allegedly gotten into a physical fight with Brianna just a few weeks before her disappearance. The fight was over a man. When questioned, this woman's story changed multiple times. First, she said she was out of town. Then, she admitted she was in Montgomery, but at a party. Then, she couldn't remember where she was at all. Two people, two shaky alibis, and a town full of whispers that connected them both to the night Brianna Maitland disappeared. Months after Brianna vanished, the case had grown cold. The official investigation had stalled. But then, a letter arrived at the Vermont State Police Barracks. It was anonymous. The handwriting was shaky, the words filled with a desperate urgency. The letter claimed that Brianna had been taken to a specific, remote location, a rundown property not far from the old Dutchburn house, on the night she disappeared. It said she was killed there after a drug deal went wrong. The letter even named the two individuals who were allegedly responsible: the local drug dealer and the jealous woman. It described a violent confrontation, a moment of panic, and a desperate attempt to cover up the crime. Investigators took the tip seriously. They obtained a search warrant for the property mentioned in the letter. They arrived with cadaver dogs, forensic teams, and excavation equipment. They spent days combing the area, digging up the frozen ground, searching for any sign of Brianna. The dogs alerted to a few spots, but after hours of digging, they found nothing. The tip, as explosive as it was, led to another dead end. Was it a cruel hoax? Or was it a genuine attempt by someone too afraid to come forward, someone who knew the truth but couldn't risk revealing their identity? The fear was palpable. People in Montgomery knew that in a small town, some secrets are kept not out of malice, but out of self-preservation. To speak out against the wrong people could mean losing your job, your home, or worse. And so, a wall of silence descended upon the town. The official investigation had hit a wall. The whispers, though they continued, remained just whispers. But the darkest rumor was yet to come. It didn't come in a letter. It came from a person, a former acquaintance of the main persons of interest, who, years later, finally found the courage to speak to a private investigator hired by the Maitland family. His voice was low, his hands trembling as he spoke. He claimed he wasn't there, but he heard the story from someone who was. He described a party that night. He said Brianna was there. He said there was an argument over money. And then he described what he was told happened next. A story so brutal, so horrifying that it seemed to belong in a nightmare, not a small Vermont town. He said Brianna was taken from the party, that the car being backed into the farmhouse wasn't an accident. It was a message, a warning. And what happened to Brianna? He claimed her body was dismembered and disposed of in the most gruesome way imaginable, a method that would ensure she would never be found. The private investigator recorded the statement. It was a second-hand account, a rumor passed from one person to another. It was not admissible in court, but as he listened to the man's trembling voice, he couldn't shake a single, terrifying thought. Is this just another whisper in a town full of them? Or is this a confession disguised as a rumor from someone who knows exactly what happened to Brianna Maitland and is now testing the waters to see if it's finally safe to tell the truth? The line between rumor and reality has blurred, and the fear in a small town can be a powerful silencer. What do you think is more likely? That these whispers are just stories, or that they are echoes of a dark and buried truth? Let me know in the comments. In part 3, we'll follow the family's unending search, explore the new DNA evidence that could change everything, and ask the final, heartbreaking question: will Brianna Maitland ever come home? Subscribe so you don't miss the conclusion.